Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. This is the second video of the night. You hopefully have seen the previous one where I talk about Peter Frampton, because Peter Frampton got he got inducted into the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And that's what this video is about. I am going to analyze with you who got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the class of 2024. It's a pretty fascinating list. Now, I already did a rant video a month or two back. Hope you enjoyed that. I do a rant video every year on the inductees. But now it's time to talk about who they are inducting in. It's fascinating. Clearly, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is changing in a big way, in a lot of different ways. Maybe because Jann Wenner got thrown out, and of course he's kind of like blackballed now because of his comments. Maybe that's a part of it. But look at this list of inductees. It's pretty fascinating. So in the performer category, which is clearly the most important category, we'll talk about the other ones as well. You got Mary J. Blige. Listen, I'm not qualified to talk about Mary J. Blige. I got, let's say, 5,500 albums in my physical catalog that I listen to and I know really well. I don't have any by Mary J. Blige. Maybe she's great at what she does. I've seen her on TV and performances. She just doesn't do nothing for me. But obviously, she's a huge artist, so as what I think, they should change the name of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to the Popular Music Hall of Fame. If it's the Popular Music Hall of Fame, then I guess she should be in there. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, not for me. Next up is Cher. Now, Cher, I was surprised actually wasn't in there already, because certainly if it's the Popular Music Hall of Fame, she should have been in there a long time. I mean, my God, that woman is an icon. She's still huge. She should play live. She'll still play Madison Square Garden and got a ton of hits. And, I mean, you know, she's not the kind of music that I listen to. I do have one Cher album. Here it is. The very best of Cher. I paid a whole $1 for it. But I was glad I bought it because, you know, it's nice to have some of these songs. Listen, I grew up when I was a kid. I'll never forget having the 45. In fact, I still have the 45. Of Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, and Half-Breed, and they're great. And I Got You, Babe, of course, as well. You know, so she's got a lot of really good songs. Is she rock and roll? Not really to me. Is she an icon of icons? Absolutely. And based on who else they put in, then Cher had to be in there. Who's next? Dave Matthews Band. Now, again, let's say I have 5,500 physical albums. I don't have a single Dave Matthews Band album. This is just personal taste. My taste is no better than yours. I can't stand Dave Matthews. I hate his voice. They're a really talented band. Here in America, they were, or I guess they still are, they were huge. They're a stadium-level band. So they did the fan vote. I know they won the fan vote. You know, I guess they should be in. They're just not for me at all. So they clearly wouldn't have been in there. Next up is Foreigner. Now, Foreigner is interesting. It's nice to see a rock band. I was born in 1977, I guess, when their first album came out. I was 14. I remember it like yesterday. They were all over the radio. You know, feels like the first time. Cold as Ice, Star Rider, great song. A real band, you know, that's a really cool story. You know, the 3 British guys, the 3 American guys, guy from Spooky Tooth, Mick Jones. You know, no doubt Foreigner was the real deal, and had massive success. You know, Atlantic Records used to say they were the biggest selling act on Atlantic Records, and they had Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones and others. So, you know, here's the first Foreigner album. Yep, I have their albums. That's a classic album. No debate for me. That's a great one. Their second one, No Sophomore Slump, man. Double Vision, fantastic record. I used to play in a bar band. We used to play some of their tracks. Double Vision we used to play as well. So that's a great follow-up. Then they start getting a little, you know, shaky maybe. Head Games, great cover. Third album, but still had some great tracks on there. Dirty White Boy, that got played a lot. You know, there's some good stuff on there. Head Games, title track. So that's the third record. Then they go into their fourth album, which I guess might be their biggest seller, Foreigner 4, but now they got a change of personnel, change of sound to a certain extent. Huge album. Listen, Waiting for a Girl Like You, the ballad, I love that track. I still love that track. It's a great track. And there's a lot of really great tracks on this album. But they were definitely going through some issues, for sure. Ballads versus rock and roll, splitting up the band. Their 5th album, Agent Provocateur. All of these are digitally remastered, as you can see. I got to tell you, I Want to Know What Love Is. Again, another ballad, but man, I think that song is one of the greatest songs of all time. When that gospel choir kicks in, give me chills. And then there's a bunch of compilations as well. Listen, Foreigner's got a massive amount of hits. And you know what? Their albums that I'm showing you here are really good. And they got a lot of collections. Here's a double collection, Jukebox Hero. There's a lot of really good Foreigner stuff. For me, though, I gotta say, I don't really see them as a Hall of Fame band. At least not yet. But with that said, when you compare it to the other guys on the list, I guess it's really good to have, Foreigner in there. What did I just drop? It's really good to have a Foreigner in there, but they would not be my choice. What? Jethro Tull? Where the hell is Jethro Tull? What? I'd put Grand Funk in over them as well. But down the line, Foreigner, I guess, could be there. So there's one that I don't have the biggest issue with. Peter Frampton comes next. We're not really going to talk about it because I did a video before. I'm a huge Peter Frampton fan. I have 40 Peter Frampton albums, and I showed them in the previous video. With that said, as much as I like Peter Frampton, I was always a fan of Peter Frampton since I discovered him in 1976 when the whole world discovered him. But by 1978, he was already 79, he was already a has-been to a certain extent. I never gave up on Peter Frampton. I'm a sucker for the underdog, and he became an underdog. And he kept putting out album after album that nobody would buy except for me. And I still like those albums. But the reality with Peter Frampton is that his career is pretty spotty. He doesn't have a whole host of perfect, great albums. But Frampton Comes Alive, maybe he should be in there. That alone, the greatest live album, in my opinion. But I definitely don't have a problem with Peter Frampton based on who they're putting in. Who's next? Kool and the Gang. I don't have a single Kool and the Gang. Never going to happen. Are they Celebration? Put a bullet in my head if I ever have to hear that song again. Ozzy Osbourne. So Ozzy Osbourne, I'm not a huge fan, but you gotta say he should be in there because what Sharon Osbourne did is a miracle. After Black Sabbath, his career was done. He was kind of a joke, and she brought him back. Blizzard of Oz was really a band that then became Ozzy Osbourne, and that became a lawsuit and all the rest, which is kind of sad. But, Ozzy got all the credit, which he probably shouldn't have gotten. It caused lawsuits. But no doubt that Ozzy has had an incredible solo career thanks to Sharon and Ozfest and all the other stuff that she's done. I like Ozzy Osbourne. I don't listen to him that much. But no doubt his solo career has actually eclipsed the career probably of Black Sabbath by now. I think to the general population, certainly more people know Ozzy Osbourne than know Black Sabbath. And, he became an icon, with the TV shows, and some of them are really dumb. And they're still dumb. Doesn't he do a TV show with Looking for Ghosts? I don't know how Ozzy pulls it off. Somebody else would have no respect in rock and roll, but he seems to be able to pull it off. But, yeah, I don't have a problem with Ozzy Osbourne getting in. I mean, huge career for a long time. A Tribe Called Quest. Yep, I don't have any Tribe Called Quest. Clearly, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was doing everything in their power to get them in. In fact, let's look at some numbers here that are fascinating. So, 5 out of the 8 voted in this year were first-time nominees. That's extraordinary. That's got to be a Jann Wenner influence that he's no longer there. I think he had said it would be over his dead body if Foreigner ever got in. Now he's a dead body, so to speak, so Foreigner got in. But Ozzy Osbourne had never been nominated before he got in. Cher, well, they had to make things right by putting her in that. It's really like a pop hall of fame. Peter Frampton, I think what they did with Peter Frampton is pretty cool. He's certainly been kind of playing his cards. He played at the Hall of Fame last year with Sheryl Crow. He's out there a lot, and of course, he's got a health condition, and he's not going to be able to play much, whenever. Hopefully he can keep playing, but at some point he's not going to be able to play. So it's nice that they're putting in while he's still able to enjoy it. So that's a classy move. Foreigner's a first-time nominee. They were never going to happen with Jann Wenner, obviously, but now they get in first time. And Kool and the Gang, I have nothing I can say about Kool and the Gang. But that's fascinating that 5 of the 8 are first-timers. Now, beyond that, A Tribe Called Quest is a third-time nominee. They're the only one that's a third-time nominee that got in. And this is 3 in a row. What does that tell you? That tells you that the Hall is getting them in no matter what anybody wants. I think they came in last in the fan vote, right? They were putting them in. I don't know much about them. Mary J. Blige and Dave Matthews are both on their second try. She was in 2021 and he was in 2020. So that's a sea change. 5 out of the 8, they're first-time nominees and they got in. And that says something about the Hall of Fame for sure. What else is some interesting things? There are 7 nominees from this year who didn't get inducted. Mariah Carey, kind of surprised. I'm not a Mariah Carey fan. I have none of her albums. I can't stand her. But she's got an incredible voice and she's had a really, really massively successful long career. If Whitney Houston is in, I was assuming that Mariah Carey would get in, but I was wrong. Jane's Addiction, not a fan. That's just me. Sade, I am a real big fan, but they're really, would they be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Well, based on everybody else that they're putting in, it's possible, but maybe way down the line. I don't think they would get in. Sinead O'Connor, I'm not a fan. What can I tell you? I'm just not a fan. Oasis, I'm a really big fan. I didn't think they would get in because they're not that big in the United States. Of course, overseas, they're one of the biggest bands of all time. But based on... they put Kate Bush in, but that's a different story. Oasis will get in one day. Lenny Kravitz, I'm a minor fan. I just don't think he's all that original. And I really don't think he's all that great. But I wouldn't put him in. And Eric B. and Rakim, well, I don't know nothing about them. So I definitely wouldn't put them in. But now that it should be the Pop Hall of Fame, popular music, maybe. I thought the whole nominee list, which was my rant, it was terrible. And I still think it's pretty terrible. So out of all those nominees, the only one that got in that I'm really, really thrilled about is Peter Frampton. I understand Cher getting in. Foreigner's kind of cool, but that wouldn't have been my choice. I'd have Jethro Tull in, Grand Funk, and many others in way before I'd put Foreigner in, but that's just me. Ozzy Osbourne, I totally get that. What else is there? Musical influences. Well, you got Alexis Corner, and that's certainly influential. He's got a voice that's like sandpaper. His voice makes Pepe Marcello from the Good Route sound like an opera singer. But you certainly got to put him in for influences. I mean, helping to get the Rolling Stones together just from that blues scene. Same thing with John Mayall. Oh, my God, legendary. How many people went through John Mayall? Eric Clapton and Mick Taylor and Peter Green and so many others. Obviously, John Mayall should be in there as an influencer. No doubt. No doubt. That's a great choice. And who else is an influencer? Let's see. Big Mama Thornton. All right. Well, I really only know Hound Dog, but not going to argue with that. And then the last category that we're going to really talk about is Most Musical Excellence Award. The lamest award that they give. Basically, that is an award for people who couldn't get in and they want to put in. So they put him in there. Jimmy Buffett, who recently passed away, they're putting him in through the Musical Excellence Award, which I think is ridiculous because if anybody should be in the performer category, down the line he should get in for that because Jimmy Buffett was massive as a performer. Jimmy Buffett I don't think sells a massive amount of records. He has 1,000 albums. I don't think he sells a gazillion copies of every album. What he does sell is a gargantuan amount of tickets. The Parrot Heads, they're like Deadheads. They follow him everywhere. Most Jimmy Buffett casual fans are like me. They have like 1 or 2 greatest hits albums and maybe a live album or 2. Most Jimmy Buffett fans aren't buying all his studio records, but they go see him live. So, to me, that's a musical performer. And but they stuck him in. I would have held off and put him up for nominee to get in the performance category in a year or 2. MC5, That's a shocker to me. I don't have any MC5 albums. Listen, I guess they're influential, you know. Rob Tyner and Fred Sonic Smith, who married Patti Smith, and Wayne Kramer, and the two famous albums, you know, what was it, 1969, Kick Out the Jams, and I guess in 70 was Back in the USA, which had some covers on it. They didn't sell a lot of records. I'm 61 years old. I can't remember ever hearing them played, whether on the radio or at a party, or anybody I knew ever had any of their albums. But I guess somebody might say that about the Velvet Underground. Not me. I hear the Velvet Underground on the radio, and I play them all the time. So, you know, I guess they were really political in the White Panther Party and John Sinclair. I know their history. I just don't think they're all that good. But that's just me. But they're from, you know, what, Michigan? You want to put somebody in from Michigan? Put in Grand Funk. I would have put Grand Funk in way before the MC5, but that's just me. Dionne Warwick, no. You want to watch Dionne Warwick, go catch some Solid Gold episodes from the 80s. Not for me. Norman Whitfield, definitely. Oh, my God. One of the greatest producers and songwriters of all time. And then the Amador are going to go on. I don't know who Suzanne DePassy is, but I don't know. Anyway, there is my discussion about the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. A really interesting list. The only one I'm really interested in seeing get in, again, is Peter Frampton. And that's the only one. And like I said, as much as I love him, and boy, I love him, I got 40 of his albums, frankly, he's got a very spotty career as well. So, really interesting list. That's about it. Let me know what your thoughts are. I definitely want to know. It's always a fun topic to talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which they should change to be the Popular Music Hall of Fame. But I guess it's still got some little bit of blood in there as they're putting Foreigner in. So that's blood. And Ozzy Osbourne. Alrighty. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. I hope all is well. Let me know your thoughts. If you're new to my channel, hit subscribe. And I'll see you next time on the Alan Rosenberg Show.